Hi everybody and welcome to Out of the Gate, Daily Racing Form's weekend handicapping preview program. I'm Dan Illman. Thanks so much for watching. Here's what's coming up in this week's edition of Out of the Gate. Daily Racing Form's NYRA analyst Mike Beer and I are going to look at two champions. The best racehorse in the world, Arrogate, returns to action. He will start off a heavy favorite in the Grade 2 San Diego Handicap at Del Mar. The extremely popular and talented Lady Eli is going to go off a heavy favorite in the Grade 1 Diana Stakes, the DRF.com Formulator Race of the Day. We'll also take a look at the Grade 2 Eddie Reed Stakes at Del Mar, and we'll give our best bets as well. JK's Play of the Day, a Saratoga Daily Double. Nicole Russo's going to look at the opening race at the Spa on Saturday, and Timeform US's Craig Milkowski's Spotlight Race, the New York Derby from Finger Lakes. Let's break Out of the Gate. We begin Out of the Gate with our Horse Watch segment. Mike Beer has a Horse Watch running on Saturday at Saratoga. That's Browse in an allowance race. She's going to be a good price. But who's the horse that caught your eye last week, Mike, for the folks to put on the old DRF Horse Watch list?
I want to see what happens with Mark Hennig's 3-year-old filly sprinter Cursor, who finally got a turn back in distance last week at Belmont Park. They tried to make her a route. I understand why they did that, because she has some ability, but she really doesn't seem like a horse who wants to go more than 7 furlongs in her races. They cut her back last time. I like the way she won that race with a big run from last to first. She started out her year off of a bit of a layoff down at Gulfstream Park at a little stakes race. I thought that she ran well in this race too, Dan. This was, first start back, 3-year-old debut. Again, back off the pace here, switching to the outside, and she just finishes gamely all through the stretch. 4 career sprints for this filly. She's run really well all 4 times, and I just hope that they're going to concentrate on sprinting with her for the rest of the year.
She really leveled off very nicely once she got into the clear at Gulfstream, and you're right about her most recent race at Belmont. She won very, very handily, and Mark Hennig's starting to heat up. I think he's going to have a nice Saratoga meet. I expect we'll see Cursor towards the tail end of the Saratoga meeting this summer. My horse watch is Get Jets, who began his career as a very promising 2-year-old New York bred on the dirt for trainer Tony Dutrow. The problem with Get Jets has been physical. He's had all sorts of issues. Dutrow brought him back last fall. He got 1 start into him on turf, and he won. And so far for his 4-year-old campaign, 3 starts, he has concentrated on the turf. Get Jets got a class test last time out in the $150,000 Forbidden Apple Stakes. Now, that race was contested over firm going, but there was some rain in the early portion of the week, and I wonder if that turf course was a little less than firm and that Get Jets might not have handled it early. He didn't break very well from the inside post. It looked like he was outpaced on the turn, but as they swing into the stretch for the Forbidden Apple, we're going to see he's down inside, and he's going to be in a little bit of traffic when they get into upper stretch. It looks like the jock, Johnny Velasquez, is trying to get out, stymied there by Chad Brown's runner, still trying to get out, didn't really find a seam. But once he does get a seam in between horses, I do like the way Get Jets finishes. He gets outside this pace setter King Creaser right now, and he really rolls the last 50 yards or so. He's not going to beat the much improved Disco Partner, who ran away with yet another big speed figure. But Get Jets earned a 99 buyer, and I think he fits very well at distances in between 7 furlongs and 1 mile and a 16th. And the fact that he's a New York bred gives Tony Dutrow plenty of options this Saratoga season. Get Jets, my horse watch for this week. Speaking of Saratoga, let's get to some handicapping. Our DRF.com Formulator Race of the Day for Saturday is the Grade 1 Diana Stakes. Let's take a look at this field. Remember, for expanded stakes video previews, head on over to video.drf.com. Mike and I discuss all of the graded races this weekend in great depth. And head on over to the Race of the Day event page on drf.com. Download free Formulator past performances for the Grade 1 Diana and handicap along with us. Mike, the story of this race, Chad Brown, he's got the 2 favorites, including the very popular and very talented Lady Eli.
Yeah, Lady Eli, certainly a deserving favorite in the Diana. I just think she's way the horse to beat in here. His other entrant, Antono, maybe a little bit more polarizing. Obviously, she's 2 for 2 in this country for Chad, and off of a bit of an eye-catching win last time. I don't know about you, Dan. I could kind of go either way on this filly.
Let's take a look at Antono's recent win in the Grade 1 Just a Game Stakes on the Belmont Stakes undercard. You see, she looks like she's in a little bit of deep water turning into the stretch. She is still absolutely last, but now she alters course down towards the inside. You see the horse on the lead, Sassy Little Lila, starts drifting out. I don't even think the jock on Sassy Little Lila senses Antono is coming. He's concerned about herding Dickinson out, and Antono is flying up the rail.
Yeah, this horse really did fly up the rail. I think that's a good way to put it. A big finish from the top of the stretch down through the wire there. Listen, it's also a race where you could see there wasn't a ton of closing going on. She's the only one who's really making a big run from off the pace. I'm not sure what that means in that particular race. Again, I don't really know how I feel about her, Dan. The more I looked at this race, the more I just sort of felt like she's probably going to take her share of money in this race. I know that Just a Game, that performance we just saw, caught a lot of attention. I don't know about you. I kind of want to see her do that again, Dan. I'm against her on Saturday.
Like many European horses, she's not great out of the gate, and there's not a ton of speed, it seems, in the Diana, so she might have to pull off that trick one more time, coming from last to first, this time perhaps against slightly better horses. You're going to take a small swing against Lady Eli, however. I like Kadura's form, and best of all, I love her tactical speed.
Yeah, I like those things about her, too. And I also just sort of like the fact that she's very lightly raced. I think you could even get more improvement out of her in this race, at least I hope you can. I just sort of felt like she fit this race really well. I'm not way against Lady Eli in here. I think she's the horse to beat. I had a tough time deciding between Kadura and Dickinson if I was going to try to beat Lady Eli, and I settled on Kadura. I think she has the ability to take one more step forward, and as you point out, there's no pace in this race, and she's very tactical kind of horse, so I'm hoping she gets a good trip and maybe can take advantage here. Her last race, the most recent start here at Belmont Park, was going 1.25 miles. This is a race that just had no pace on it all. Hawksmoor, the eventual winner, just walked on the lead early. Here's Kadura. She's taking a run at her off the turn. I like the way that she stays on through the stretch of this race, Dan. It's going 10 furlongs, which does not have to be her preferred distance either, but she really doesn't give any ground to the winner in this race. She just finishes right up with her in this race. I thought this was a good performance. Her seasonal debut came against Lady Eli and Dickinson in that Jenny Wiley. She ran well that day as well to be third, I thought, right off the layoff. I'm hoping she steps forward on Saturday.
I'm going to chalk it out with Lady Eli. She is way the horse to beat. She's very consistent. In her most recent race, the Gamely, Chevron shipped her all the way out to Southern California. There was a fast horse coming off the layoff in Avenged, and I like the way that Lady Eli was able to adapt to the pace scenario. They swing into the lane. She's already taken the measure of this horse on the lead, and she was up close to those solid fractions throughout. She takes the lead. Goodyear for Roses, who's an underrated horse who had a really nice trip tracking this pace in the pocket, comes out, takes her shot at Lady Eli, but Lady Eli always has just a little bit more than Goodyear for Roses. It's nice to know that Lady Eli may now have that tactical gear in her hip pocket. She might need it on Saturday in the Diana. As Mike mentioned, there's not a lot of early pace, but I think that Lady Eli can adapt. I just think she's the best horse. The price is not right, but I think that Lady Eli will do it one more time. Let's take a look at Nicole Russo's pedigree pick for this Saturday. It's the opening race at Saratoga.
Hey guys, Nicole Russo coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky for Out of the Gate this week. Well, the first day of summer was officially back on June 21st, but this week is what always feels like the start of summer to me, as both Del Mar and Saratoga open for racing this week. The first Saturday of Saratoga's meet kicks off with a very interesting maiden special weight for 3-year-olds and up. Let's take a look at the field. Some well-bred horses in here who have been knocking on the door against solid company, including Marshall Plan, a $375,000 weanling purchase by Stone Street. That's a very good price, indicated that he was an early blossoming horse with potential. The Speightstown Colt is from the immediate family of Greater Group 1 winners Versailles Treaty and George Vancouver, as well as Grade 2 winner Sarland. Farther back, you find Greater Group 1 winners Gold Fever, Boisterous, General Assembly, Poet's Voice, Dance to Bristol, a real quality family behind Marshall Plan, who's still looking to break his maiden, but has faced some strong competition already. He was second by 3/4 of a length in his career debut at Keeneland to Giuseppe the Great. That one came back to run a good second in the Woody Stevens and a creditable fourth in the Dwyer. Marshall Plan then ran a very good second at Belmont to the well-regarded Emancipation, the full brother to Orb, who's headed for Stakes Company this summer. Marshall Plan had a clear lead in the stretch of the 7-furlong maiden and was caught late. He's dropping back to 6 furlongs here, and he's ideally drawn inside for another similar trip. Saturday might be the opportunity for this well-bred colt to break through. Now, another well-bred horse in this field is Adulation, making his first start since November. He made 3 starts last year, including one at Saratoga, finishing second all 3 times. He was second at Belmont to Lookin' at Blessing. The third-place finisher, Bonus Points, has won or placed in 5 stakes since, highlighted by a win in the Parks Derby and a runner-up finish in the Jerome. Then in his final start of 2016, Adulation was second to Untrapped in a maiden at Churchill. Untrapped, of course, a familiar name, 5 times graded placed, and started in this year's Kentucky Derby. Now, Adulation is a Whitney homebred. He's from the first crop of To Honor and Serve by Bernardini. Adulation's dam, the winning Unbridled Song mare Tweeter, Unbridled Song, an emerging broodmare sire. Tweeter, the dam of one winner, that being a direct message by Bernardini, so this cross does work. Tweeter is out of Broodmare of the Year, Dear Birdie, who you know is the dam of Kentucky Oaks winner and champion Birdtown and Belmont and Traverse winner Birdstone. Birdtown has gone on to be a graded producer in her own right, producing Grade 2 winner Birdsong. She's also the grand dam of stakes winner Gorgeous Bird, both of those by Unbridled Song. We're going to take a brief break now on Out of the Gate, but when we come back, we'll have analysis of the weekend stakes on the opposite coast at Del Mar, led by champion Arrogate's return to the races.
Coming up this summer, it's Spa Babies presented by WinStar Farm. Every Wednesday through Sunday during the Saratoga meeting, Nicole Russo and I will analyze the best 2-year-old races at the spa. We'll go beyond the past performances and discuss pedigree, trainer patterns, workouts, and more. It's Spa Babies presented by WinStar Farm every Wednesday through Sunday at video.drf.com. Welcome back to Out of the Gate, one of the most highly anticipated stakes races this entire summer racing season's coming up at Del Mar on Saturday. Let's take a look at the field for the San Diego Handicap. Not a great betting race by any stretch of the imagination, but when you've got the world's best racehorse, the number 3 Arrogate, you can't complain too much, Mike Beer.
Yeah, I guess it's enough to turn your interest into the San Diego for sure. I mean, I think everybody just sort of wants to see what Arrogate does here in his first start back from Dubai. It's obviously the kind of field where, hey, listen, you're a braver man than me if you want to take a shot against him in here, and probably a little bit crazier too. But I'm just very interested to see what he does on Saturday.
I know there's no such thing as a sure thing in racing. Last week, Songbird was as close to a sure thing on paper. She almost got beat. But boy, how are you going to beat Arrogate, at least on paper? His last 4 races are just out of this world. It started with the Travers, returned that race in just his own personal playground. He then showed up in the Breeders' Cup Classic. And as they turned into the stretch, he had some work to do. That's a pretty good horse in California Chrome on the lead, Mike.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, listen, his Travers was in some ways his coming out party, winning by a pole with a 122. But this was the race that I think really got you thinking about how good Arrogate could be. I mean, a 3-year-old, first start since the Travers against a horse like California Chrome, who has the advantage on him, and to chase that horse down through the stretch, that was a pretty big time performance. And, you know, believe it or not, he actually got better from there.
That race left people salivating at the prospect of the rematch. Arrogate California Chrome 2. It occurred in the Pegasus World Cup. California Chrome unfortunately suffered an injury, and after that, Arrogate pretty much put on a show. They turn into the stretch of the Pegasus World Cup. California Chrome is floundering on the outside in the silver. Arrogate is straight and strong in the stretch.
Yeah, just too good for these horses. Once California Chrome didn't fire in this race, it was just sort of a question of, how much would Arrogate win it by, and he wins it easily. Another strong finish here. This is just a horse who just, every time you watch him run through the stretch, he just gets stronger as the distances go on. He's just way better than these horses. And then he, stepped it up one more time when they shipped him over to Dubai.
Now, if you thought there were no other worlds to conquer after the Pegasus World Cup, there was still Dubai. They shipped over there. He was going to race without Lasix, and he had just about the worst start you could imagine. He was sandwiched completely at the start. He was steadied out of there. He had a lot of work to do, but as you see turning into the stretch, you can't stop this horse right now. He is just going and grinding it out, and he's going to come and get a good horse. That's Gunrunner on the lead, one of the most improved horses in all of America, in all of the world, and Gunrunner runs right by him like he's standing still.
Yeah, and Gunrunner is just one of those horses too. You're right, he's really improved, and he actually ran a big race here in the Dubai World Cup, right up on the engine after Arrogate had all that trouble early and just lost all kinds of position in the race and had to make a long sustained run. I mean, he just comes right over the top of Gunrunner in this field, no problem, way better than that horse. I mean, I just, you start looking at the string of races that we just sort of talked about here, and you just have to wonder, what else can this horse do?
And against this sort of field, after the races you just saw, it's hard to imagine anybody beating Arrogate. Maybe if you're playing a cold exacta, maybe I'd throw Donworth, a horse that I know Mike does not like at all, but I might try to get Donworth second and behind Arrogate. But this is a race that's more of a spectacle than a betting affair. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's the kind of race that I certainly don't want to have any money in, but I can't wait to watch Arrogate on Saturday just to see what he does. You certainly can have Donworth take him for all you want in the exacta. Maybe I'll try and get a little Dalmore in there, new gelding for Keith this summer. I've always had a little thing for this horse.
Arrogate returns from Dubai, is going to be a big favorite, and he should win the San Diego. Let's move to turf for hopefully a better betting race, the Eddie Reed. Let's throw up the field for the Grade 2 Eddie Reed Stakes at Del Mar on Saturday. It's carded as race number 4. As you see, a field of 7. For expanded stakes previews, visit video.drf.com. Mike and I talk about every horse and every graded stakes race this weekend. The horse they're all going to have to beat, Mike, is the number 6, Ashley Loves Sugar. It's one of the best turf horses in the country when he's right.
Yeah, he's run several good races in a row. He's actually on a very good run right now. I mean, you start looking at this Eddie Reed field from top to bottom, and it just, to me anyway, just didn't come up that strong. It just feels like he's got a real edge over this kind of a field. He's a legit graded stakes performer in a race where those kinds of horses are pretty hard to come by. And I liked his last race quite a bit, Dan. They ran him in that Grade 2 Charlie Whittingham, and we have the replay of that race. He's sort of down towards the inside. Now, this is a horse who has really fine tactical speed. You can do whatever you want with him. Put him on the lead, put him close to the lead, or take him a little bit further off it like they did here. Look at him come running through the stretch here, squeezing his way through a tight hole and then finishing this race off. This was a really good performance. Now, it's going a little bit longer. They've concentrated on longer distances for him, but he's fine over the 9 furlongs he's going to get on Saturday. He ran really well in this race last year when second to Midnight Storm was better than anything he faces today. I just have a hard time betting against him in this race, I think.
Yeah, not a vintage renewal of the Eddie Reed. I love the agility he just displayed in the Charlie Whittingham, where he was able to knife his way in between horses. This is just an old class master. He has 10 triple-digit buyer speed figures in his career. He wants to beat you. He's way the horse to beat. I'm going to take a slight chance against him, though, with a horse named Hunt, the number 2 for trainer Phil D'Amato, who kind of found himself going down the hill at about 6.5 furlongs at Santa Anita last year. He made his first start of the season in the American Stakes at Santa Anita most recently. We're going to take a look at that race right now. He had just been steadied on the turn at the back of the pack. You see him last on the rail, and there's just no way he's going to reel in Pee Wee Reese at this point. But I do like the fact that once he got outside into the clear, he showed a willingness to finish. And again, this is his first start off a rather lengthy layoff. I have to admit, I'm a little bit concerned at this additional distance. He's going to have to stretch out to 1 1/8, but I do trust his trainer, Phil D'Amato. He's going to take a shot in this race, realizing that the horse he's got to beat is Ashley Loves Sugar. If that horse fires, it's going to be tough. But if Ashley Loves Sugar stubs his toe, as Mike mentioned, maybe there's not much else in this race. Plus, he's got some tactical speed stretching out to 1 1/8. I think Hunt will be in a very comfortable position in the early portion of this race. Ashley Loves Sugar, a must-use in multiple races race wagers, but I'll take a small stab against him with Hunt in the Eddie Reed. JK's got a daily double play at Saratoga, and Craig Milkowski for the Timeform US Spotlight. It's the New York Derby at Finger Lakes. Let's go to those segments.
Hey everybody, welcome to JK's Play of the Day. You can tell by the background I'm obviously at Del Mar for the Del Mar opening weekend, but the play of the day is going to be at Saratoga. It's a daily double in race 9 with the Sanford and the Grade 1 Diana. I love Direct Dial in this spot. The horse ran huge on debut at Churchill. Got beat by a pretty good horse last time at Belmont. We won't fault him for that. I think he's going to run well again today. I'm going to single him, and then in the second leg, I'm going to use the other Chad Brown, not Lady Eli, who's 4 to 5 on the morning line. She's obviously going to take a lot of fanfare, a lot of money based on her name and what she's done, her wonderful story, her race out in California. I'm going to take the other Chad Brown, Antino. If you take a look at the Just the Game from Belmont last month, what a run she made up the inside. I'm not even sure if the connections were expecting her to run that good that day. I think she'll run even better today with a devastating late kick. And that's going to be my ice cold double in that spot. Direct Dial and Antino. See you next week.
Hi, this is Craig Milkowski, the Chief of Speed Figures for Timeform US for Out of the Gate. This week I'm going to look at the New York Derby at Finger Lakes. It's a 7th race on Saturday and offers a purse of $150,000 for New York breds. First, let's take a look at some items from the race preview page in Timeform US PPs. The race rating of 111 is kind of a good indicator of the type of speed figure it's going to take to win this race. Then we see who our top 3 power picks are. We have Gold for the King, Pat on the Back, and Twisted Time. We're going to look at each of those a little more in depth in a second, but first let's take a look at the Timeform US Pace Projector. The Pace Projector indicates that this race is likely to favor horses on or near the early lead. It doesn't see a whole lot of speed in the race. You can see that Pat on the Back is shown on somewhat of a clear lead, but he is going to get some pressure from Twisted Tom and Gold for the King. Not coincidentally, those are the power picks are all shown up near the front in a race that's expected to favor horses up close to the lead. The first horse I want to talk about is number 4, Gold for the King. He was the top Timeform US power pick, but I'm actually not a huge fan of his in here. He's a horse that I think has sprinter written all over him. In 9 career starts, he's yet to try 2 turns. This will be his first time. He did try 1 mile at Belmont earlier in his career, and he kind of hung a little bit like closing sprinters often tend to do. He is by Posse, who was a sprinter through and through when he ran. And so he's a horse I'm not really too anxious to bet in here. The horse we showed on the lead in the Pace Projector kind of has the same limitations. Pat on the Back, he's a horse that's done very well sprinting in his career. Earlier this season, he tried a bunch of route races. He started in the Delta Jackpot. He then tried some other races at Louisiana. He tried the Lecomte, then dropped in class to allowance, all without any success at all. He returned to New York and went back to sprinting, and his speed figures jumped off the page again. He went right back to running big numbers. He won his last race at Finger Lakes in what I presume was sort of a prep for this one. So even though he's going to be on the lead and may even be clear, he's not a horse that I think wants any part of 2 turns. Sure, the lesser competition that he faces compared to what he did there, although these are tougher than the allowance races. His stakes races were a bit tougher, but he's just one I'm not willing to back going that mile in his 16th distance. The horse that I think is the most likely winner is Twisted Tom. He's a horse last seen in the Belmont Stakes where somehow he went off only 9-1 off a listed stakes score at Laurel. I guess a lot of that was due to respect bettors for Chad Brown, but he really was in over his head. But I'm willing to toss that race out. If you look at his race at Laurel, where he went a mile in his 16th, ran a big 112 speed figure. He did it pressing a fast pace, and he won pretty easy. And he was about the 3rd choice that day, I believe, at 5-1. So it was kind of a surprise, but it was his 3rd win in a row. He had also won a prior stakes at Laurel around 2 turns, also at that mile in the 16th distance. So I think he is definitely one to beat. But as I said, he's the morning line favorite at 2-1, and I'd like to get a little value out of this race. So the horses I'm going to look at are two horses who have shown they route pretty well. The first one is 6-Sided Bling. He's been racing at Finger Lakes, and he's actually won 3 of his last 4 going around 2 turns. His speed figures are a little on the light side, but I think he can pick up some of the quitting sprinters in this field. And the other one is number 7, Can You Dig It? He has also won around 2 turns over the Aqueduct Inner Dirt. He won at Belmont over a sloppy track at 1 1/16, which is only 1 turn, but still a bit of a route. And he's faced some tougher trips. You can see a lot of blue fractions in his last 2 races. The pace picked up quite a bit after the slow opening fraction last time, but it didn't phase him, and he was able to win pretty easy over that sloppy surface. So that's what I'm going to do in the New York Derby. I'm going to key off Twisted Tom and use him in exactas with 6-sided bling and Can You Dig It? That's it for Timeform US today. Now back to Dan in the studio.
Time for our best bet segment here on Out of the Gate. Mike, NYRA analyst, you're going to Saratoga naturally on opening Saturday.
Yeah, it's a pretty tough card there on Saturday. Don't we have this video queued up from a few weeks ago where I made Joy Estella my best bet down at Belmont Park, and then they got rained off the turf, so she didn't get to run? All right, I'll go through the whole thing again. Joy Estella, a filly that they paid $1.5 million for, and she didn't return immediate dividends to her connections, but Dan, I like the way that this filly was really developing late last year for Christophe Clement. She started to put things together at the end of the year, especially 3-month layoff. She came back at Belmont Park in this race right here. And listen, there wasn't a big pace in this race. It's not a great field. She got a perfect trip in here. But I like the way that she finished this race off. This is a big run from the 8th pole to the wire going away, and she returned for one more start last year and backed this race up very well in a stakes race where she was fighting it out on even terms with some good horses all the way down inside the 16th pole before she let that race go. I just think she's improved. She's finally, hopefully, going to get a turf race to go. She's been rained off 2 or 3 times already. Gets a turf race to go on Saturday, 5 or 6 to 1 in this field, and it's a good field, but 5 or 6 to 1, I'll take my chances.
That horse certainly fits Joy Estella in that race at Saratoga, one of 2 entered by the great trainer Christophe Clement. I'm going to go over to Del Mar for their opening Saturday card. Give me Fashion Business at Del Mar, race number 6, number 10. This horse, you can't beat the pedigree. It's by Frankel out of Icon Project, and it just hasn't worked out in 3 starts in Southern California for trainer Phil D'Amato. At this level, 2 starts back, he did his best. He was beaten 2 lengths with a late run. Last time out in the Rainbow Stakes, just slightly better horses. He really couldn't get into it with a late kick. I wish he had a little bit more tactical speed, but I think he's slowly getting better with each and every race. He's got 5 workouts since his last race. Fitness won't be a problem. I'm just hoping we get a little bit of pace for Fashion Business and trainer Phil D'Amato in race number 6 at Del Mar on Saturday. That's it for us this week. Best of luck when your horses break out of the gate.